residents throughout LA County. So with that, I'd like to invite the next speaker up, Sergeant Pack from the California Highway Patrol.
Chief, before you step away, have you lost any structures yet?
We have not confirmed. I believe I was briefed earlier on the media. They may have seen some potential outbuildings that may have been impacted. We have not received any information in regards to any primary residences damaged or lost at this point in time.
Can you address firefighting in a pandemic before you step away?
Yes, ma'am. It's very challenging, as you can see my left here, and you'll see throughout the days to come, and even out on the fire line. We are practicing all those best practices and guidelines, wearing our face spaces, as well as maintaining proper hygiene and guidelines in that 6-foot distancing when possible. It is very difficult, especially out on the fire line, to do so when they're facing those difficult conditions. However, you will see as the space camp gets set up for the multiple days to come, it'll be a matter of practice. And I can assure you, all the fire departments, all the fire agencies, and public safety in general, the mask we wear really has become commonplace and part of our daily uniform.
Good evening, folks. Sergeant Kevin Pack, California Highway Patrol, Newhall area. As with all these incidents, the California Highway Patrol stands in support of our National Forest Service, Los Angeles County Fire, and Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department personnel to mitigate these incidents. In support of that, we have established a number of road closures. Those road closures currently are at San Francisco Canyon is closed between Spunky Canyon on the north and at Stater Lane on the south. Pine Canyon is closed at 3 Points Road. 3 Points is closed at SR 138. Old Ridge Route Road is closed at SR 138. Lake Hughes Road is closed at Ridge Route Road. And Pine Canyon Road is closed at Lake Hughes Road. We ask that all people out on the roadway and motorists please respect those closures. Please stay off the roadways as much as possible to allow our firefighting personnel to rapidly be able to respond to these threats in an efficient manner. Thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Ron Schaefer, the captain of Palmdale Sheriff Station, and we are responsible for the evacuations during this operation. We are supported by the California Highway Patrol, the troops from Lancaster Station, Santa Clarita Station, and Palmdale Station. The area of this fire actually falls under the jurisdiction or the patrol area for Palmdale Station. Evacuations have taken place west of Lake Hughes Road all the way to the 138, and it covers several housing areas in that area. Also Pine Canyon Road all the way over to 3 Points, that's to the west side. And just recently we activated a mandatory evacuation, Elizabeth Lake Road between Lake Hughes Road and Trail Mountain Road. Approximately 100 homes have been contacted and ordered to evacuate. Evacuation centers for people with small animals is Highland High School in Palmdale. That's at 39055 25th Street West in Palmdale. In this evacuation, unfortunately, because of COVID protocols, a shelter is actually not established. People will have to stay in their cars. If they have the resources that they can find hotels away from their primary home, that will work. Otherwise, at this particular location, they will be staying in cars and they can have small animals. For other animals, they can be kept at LA County Animal Shelters located in Castaic, Palmdale, and Lancaster. Large animals will be stored or sheltered at the AV Fairgrounds. Frequently what happens during these fires is you get a lot of residents who are into horses or large livestock. They frequently respond to the area with trailers. They want to go in and help those residents rescue their large animals and remove them from the area. Unfortunately, because of the terrain, the roadway, it does not support bringing in outside vehicles and trailers into this area while the firefighters are trying to get a grip and control surround this fire. So that is prohibited. We're not going to let non-residents into the community, regardless of their noble cause. It will create too much havoc for us, especially if one of those vehicles tries to attempt to turn around. It's going to create roadblocks. So over the next few days, the temperature is going to be high. We have the thoughts and prayers and admiration of our firefighters who are working in this tough terrain and under these tough conditions. We always appreciate the work we get, the support we get from CHP, and I can't be more proud of the LA County Deputy Sheriffs who are working in this environment. Thank you.
Chief Garcia, can you answer a couple questions? Thank you, sir. Can you elaborate a little bit more? I was told the point of origin on the fire was at an abandoned recreation center on federal land. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, due to the fire behavior, we do have fire investigators assigned immediately upon dispatch. I don't have that narrowed down of a focus of where the point of origin is. As I described, our first in units reported about 50 acres of fire on both sides of the road, and so they're coming out of the north to where this fire is coming down canyon below them with a southwest wind or an up canyon wind. So those first in units had to reposition and look for a place to do what we call an anchor point, a place to engage the fire safely, to start doing perimeter control. And they weren't readily available to do that because they were coming at the head of the fire, if you will, or the leading edge of the fire. So having a narrowed down location, I haven't been briefed on that yet, but there is a team assigned to work on the point of origin.
You were talking about a place where it had burned before in 2013, the powerhouse, or was it the powerhouse fire?
Powerhouse fire,
yeah.
Yes.
So was it the exact same? Is that the same burn zone that this is happening now, or has that become a natural barrier for you?
It's within the vicinity. The area to the east of Lake Hughes Road, or on the east side of Lake Hughes Road, burned in the powerhouse fire. There is some fire across Lake Hughes Road on that side, but it's lighter fuels, and we've been able to get an anchor point on that side and start to do perimeter control on that side. The areas to the west side of Lake Hughes Road are very, very heavy vegetated and a lot heavier fuels, a lot more intensity of fire.
And when was the last time there was fire activity in that area?
We've had smaller fires, but there's a large portion of this where the fire is moving into that haven't burned since 1968 in the Labor fire.
Deputy Chief Richardson, could you join us? I have a question also.
Yes.
So specifically regarding the evacuations, do you actually see the fire hitting these homes at some point? And should that amplify the urgency of this evacuation order, if that's true?
Oh, absolutely. And as the sheriff mentioned, that we currently have evacuated the area of Lake Hughes, community of Lake Hughes, and Pine Canyon. It is definitely a concern for us. We have either here en route over 20 strike teams, compiling of 5 engines and a strike team leader, a battalion chief, that are here to assist us as this fire continues to march and progress in really 2 directions, Pine Canyon and then Lake Hughes, on both sides of Lake Hughes Road.
So to clarify, you actually see houses in danger right now?
There is a threat to the structures within the direction of the fire travel, yes.
Chief, to ask real quick, do you plan on night flights tonight? And can you kind of describe what the plan is for there?
Yes, so as you know, Los Angeles County Fire Department as well as the Angeles National Forest have night flying copters. And we will continue to assess, and as there is a continued structure threat to residences out there, again, the pilots will assess the safety factors associated with that, and once those are mitigated, we would be able to fly and assist.
Can you tell us exactly how many air assets are assigned so far?
Chief Garcia might have a better number for you.
And while you're thinking about that too, what is the current acreage? Do we know that?
Yeah, just to address the aircraft, it does change as aircraft go in for fuel, and kind of that number changed a little bit. But we had 9 copters flying for both Los Angeles County and U.S. Forest Service and other assisting mutual aid partners, and a total of 6 air tankers, several large air tankers during that peak. And we currently have over 500 firefighters currently on the incident and additional en route. I'm sorry, what was your second question?
What is the current acreage right now?
Our last report, we were at 10,000 acres. That was some time ago. That was easily over 45 minutes ago. And as you can see, there's active fire still moving. So we do expect to see additional fire growth tonight.
And talking about fire behavior early on, because of the way that column of smoke went straight up, indicating there probably wasn't much wind to begin with. And then, can you describe fire behavior in the early stages?
Sure.
And
so
why it exploded so quickly?
Yeah, in the absence of a strong wind, there's a diurnal or a daily wind pattern that's going to move up canyon absent of any wind aloft, and so this fire started in alignment with that up canyon wind at the base of a slope, and so this was really topography driven and fuels driven. Our fuel conditions, as Chief Richardson mentioned, as we get later into the fire season, our fuel conditions are reaching critical dryness. And we do fuel moisture measurements on a weekly basis, and we've reached, particularly on this west side of Los Angeles County and the west side of the Angeles National Forest, we've reached critical fuel moisture. And so we're seeing that fire behavior based on the condition of the fuels and the alignment with the sloping topography.
To give people perspective then, sir, can you explain how quickly in the stages that the fire grew in acreage? Do you know that? Okay.
Yeah, in the first hour we had over 100 acres, and we went into unified command very early on with our LA County partners, and within our first initial reports that we were getting some reconnaissance aircraft to give us a better picture again, because this fire was moving so quickly. It was hard to really get this thing mapped and had an idea which canyons it was in. Our first good map within about 2.5-3 hours was at 6,000 acres.
So is that unusual, uncharacteristic?
It's pretty explosive fire behavior, and again, it's typical of what we see maybe a little bit later in the season, as Chief Richardson mentioned, and often driven by wind. But clearly, you can see with the fuel moisture conditions and the fire at this particular location with the slopes and the topography, it really created a recipe for rapid fire growth.
Can we speak again about the shelter situation? People staying in their cars, that's advised right now?
I would ask the sheriff to come up and comment on the shelters.
Sounds pretty dire.
It does, especially when you're talking about high temperatures. And what we're anticipating is the majority of the people that do have to move away from their homes, if they don't have alternate options, friends, family, in outlying areas, they have resources that they can perhaps get into a hotel. The problem is the COVID protocols that the Red Cross, who we regularly depend on to set up shelters, they are unable to set up those shelters because of the COVID protocols. As a result, we try to find them a safe place that they can park if in fact that they have to do that. In past fires, we've had 1 or 2 people take advantage of it, but it is short-lived because alternate arrangements are made.
And again, restate where they should go.
For people with their cars, it's going to be Highland High School in Palmdale on 25th Street West. For people that have animals that need to be sheltered, you can go to any of the LA County animal shelters here in Castaic, Lancaster, and Palmdale.
Chiefs Richardson or Garcia, then what is the plan of attack for tonight, for overnight? What's the goal?
The goal through the evening is to take advantage of what Mother Nature gives us through the night, to be able to improve upon perimeter control, to get lines out there. Chief Garcia mentioned, again, this is a true unified effort here. Mechanized equipment is another piece, our dozers that are out there to get out and carve out that the fuel break between the fire and the non-burn fuels. So our crews on the ground will continue around the structures to prepare those structures if in fact that fire does reach those communities, and impact to make sure that those structures are survivable as best as possible if a fire front comes and impacts those communities.
You made a comment a minute ago that this fire was very resource heavy. Can you explain that?
Absolutely. As Chief Garcia mentioned, we learned from past lessons, right? Powerhouse fire. That was very similar to what we've seen here today. A lot of the fire activity went on day 3 of the powerhouse. That fire made a run up into the Lake Hughes community and threatened Pine Canyon at that point in time. So we have a heavy order of resources early to ensure we're not falling behind. We get those resources we need here when we need them.
And Chief Garcia, one final item, but you don't mind. final question. Can you describe for people the types of fuels that we're talking about and the kinds of shrubs, trees, and whatnot that's in that area?
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so predominantly we have chaparral fuels and a lot of lighter chaparral vegetation in the lower elevations. But this fire has already moved significantly up into some heavier fuels. We have a combination of big cones that clear up on top and on some of those draws. I've already seen some of the news footage, the aerial footage that you can see that it's moved into some a little bit heavier forested areas up on top of those ridges, and that's going to present some additional challenges, not only going through the night, but into tomorrow. Some of those areas, unlike some of the lower elevation fires we see that cool down fairly quickly as we get into mop up, those areas that the fire is moving into is very, very heavy fuel loading.
Thank you, sir.
What do we know about currently, for whoever can answer it, is what do we know about the weather conditions overnight? I apologize if you answered this already, but we had heard that the wind direction wasn't shifting towards the Santa Cruz Valley. And so I was curious to see what we were thinking in the next overnight plan 12 hours, the wind direction for the fire.
Yeah, so we're going to see a little bit of recovery tonight in terms of RH, and so that's going to be helpful. And like Chief Richardson mentioned, take advantage of the opportunity to things are going to slow down on parts of the fire. In terms of the wind, we don't have a significant wind forecast, but again, we're in these canyons and these draws, and as these slopes cool down, there's going to be air movement downslope, down valley as the evening and these slopes cool down. So we're going to see some of that activity. And the other thing is, as far as up high up on the Abre mountain, and that's a kind of a transitional period between the canyon and the Antelope Valley. So we do have reports at sundown that there was some erratic wind with that transition of sundown out in the Pine Canyon area, and that's very common. But we are fortunate that we don't have a high wind forecast, although we do have some very challenging weather coming our way over the next 3 to 4 days.
Spanish speakers in the group, who can speak? Anyone in Espanol?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, that's going to conclude the press conference. Hopefully we'll be available for any other side questions, and we'll set up a time for